I wanted to ask you about Daniel Jones's accuracy, something he's typically been good with. It seemed like he was off the mark more often than usual in that game against the Niners. I was wondering what you attributed that to.
Yeah, he's done a nice job with that overall, I think. I would say that there was one that stands out a little bit. I know he missed Evan on the one on the out. That stood out a little bit. The other one, there was certainly some clutter around the pocket. I think his arm got hit once, which led to not as accurate of a throw, obviously. I think the biggest thing we're going to continue to try to do with him is get his feet settled. It probably starts there, getting your feet settled underneath you, being able to step into the throw and making a good throw. But I know the one we certainly want to have back.
Do you attribute the interception to inaccuracy as well, or was there more to that play than that?
Probably more to it. I think it was a combination of some things. Certainly, they tilted the coverage a little hard on that. They had a good idea, and probably wasn't the best read. Not necessarily an accuracy issue.
Got it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Art. Hey, Jerry. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I'm curious from your perspective. Now you're heading into week 4. When you're working with Daniel, I know there's so much done with the fundamentals. How much of it is physical and how much of it is mental at this stage of the game when you're I would imagine everybody's trying to reboot, refresh every week. How much do you get into the mental side of it and even the psychological side of it with your guys in the room to get ready for the next challenge?
Yeah, not as much the psychological side. I think it's important. We say this a lot in the room. We're all a team in there. So myself, Jason, Daniel, Colt, Cooper Rush, like we all when we play well, we enjoy that. When we don't play well, we all take it pretty hard. I'm responsible for that, and that's important to all of us. And so the mental side of it is a big deal. It's a reboot every week based on who we're playing. There's coverages that are similar, but people play them a little bit differently. They might lean on certain guys or squeeze certain things or carry things differently. So there's always a big mental side that you kind of got to, like you said, reboot your brain every week to go through what they're doing, what they're trying to do, basically how the coverage is playing and where we think the best places to go with the ball would be. So there's a big mental part of that for sure every week. The physical stuff and the fundamentals usually don't change in terms of the footwork, trying to do our best in the pocket with the ball, take good care of it, and try not to turn it over.
Jordan?
Hey, Jerry, what's up, man?
How you doing, Jordan?
I know we obviously saw Daniel's athleticism on the design runs, right? But something like 4 of 8 for 24 yards outside the pocket this year. How much would you like to see him get outside the pocket and use that athleticism and move around more?
Yeah, he certainly has the ability to do that, and that's I would encourage that, as we all would. I think if it becomes a comfortability thing, he's done a nice job. I can think of one third down off the top of my head where it looked like the rush kind of got to him a little bit. Protection broke down, and he stepped up in the pocket and scrambled for the first down, almost scrambled for another one, I think, in week 1. He has that ability to do it, and I think we all encourage that, myself included in that. If he could get up or out of the pocket and make a play out there, you're right, his mobility is pretty good. He's a good runner. He's fast. And he does a good job with the ball when he's out in space. So that's certainly something we encourage him about.
Is it something you stress regularly, or is just sort of do a play-by-play and say, okay, maybe this one you could have done it?
Yeah, we talk about it. I think, to be honest with you, we're just looking at the read of the play and how the play's developing. We want to throw it if we can, by all means necessary. I think it's more of if there's a breakdown or if they're in a wide rush or poor rush lane deal and we see it on film when the middle's opening up, then that could be something that he could take advantage of. We might give him a heads up on that and show that to him. But I think we automatically, first of all, want to get the pass off based on how it's designed, and then if it breaks down, he has the ability to do that.
Okay.
Hey, Jerry, just to sort of piggyback on Daniel's running, as productive as it was, do you want to see him maybe slide a little more when he gets in the open field, or are you fine with him sort of taking some shots downfield?
Yeah, I don't like him taking a lot of hits. He knows that. But I think sometimes when you're in the read action of it or the design quarterback stuff. You want to get as much as you can and get down. I think he did a good job, even though he took a few hits or was tackled, I should say. I don't know that the hits were that extreme. We always want him to get down if he can, but sometimes there's a little bit extra out there that he could get as long as he's, kind of diving and not really taking the big hit is what we're looking for there.
And seeing the success that had, you probably don't go back and think about this too much. You wish you maybe used that a little more the first 2 games, or that's something you can, plan to use more going forward?
We'll have to see how it goes. We haven't officially started the game plan yet this week, but it was certainly encouraging after last week.
And then one other thing, if you just look at the numbers, his stats on play action are, significantly better. I think that's probably for most quarterbacks. Is that something you guys, think you probably need to incorporate more too?
Yeah, I think it's all related together with the run game. We're certainly going to work hard to get that going a little bit more. And I think if we could do that, that would correlate well to the play action game. A lot of those play action games, you keep some more guys in protection, and gives them a little bit more time to get his feet underneath them and make some good throws. So that probably helps him out in that regard.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yep.
Pat Leonard.
Jerry, just wondering too if, this being a brand new offense and a brand new staff, is it hard this early in the season, in week 3 that we just saw, to get a new offense up to speed and a quarterback up to speed so he's playing as fast and as efficiently as he wants to? I mean, do you guys factor that into your evaluation of how he's playing?
We factor everything into that. Those are the rules we're with right now, and so like everyone's playing under the same circumstances. I know not everyone has a new offense, that's for sure. Maybe there's a little advantage there, but that's what we're dealing with. And we worked hard in the spring to do everything we could to teach the offense. Worked hard in training camp to start off that way and to get as many reps as we can. But by now, there's not a whole lot of new stuff going in. I feel like everything we've been doing is stuff we've been doing since, basically day 1 of training camp. So I don't see that that's a major issue right now. We just have to execute better and perform better.
And when a quarterback like Daniel, we saw him throw 5 touchdown passes in a game last year, but he's gone 2 straight weeks without a touchdown pass. How do you coach a QB up through a rut like that? Of course, it's not all him, but how do you coach a QB mentally through that?
It's really not something we're focused on statistically about getting touchdown passes or whatever. We're just trying to do the right thing on every play and execute each play. That's what we're really focused on right now. I think that's the best thing to do is do your job on the play, whatever that happens to be. If it tells you to, if the coverage dictates you throw it to the back, you throw it to the back. If the coverage dictates that you could throw it deep, And then when we get a little bit closer and get in the red zone, we certainly have some things designed to hopefully take advantage of some coverage that we're going to see down there and just keep going with the right spot with the ball. I think all that stuff will work itself out.
When you have a guy like Nick Gates going up against Aaron Donald this week, do any of his pass blocking skills from his previous life as a tackle help in the middle of the field there?
Yeah, I think first off, Aaron Donald is a tremendous football player. Probably one of the best to ever play the game. He's going to line up all over the place. Nick, being a tackle, with his footwork, and his length, that's something he can, use to an advantage. But at the end of the day, we got to be real good with our technique, have a really good plan for him. He's very disruptive, particularly in the pass game. So, it's something we're going to focus on this week. And I think attention to detail with all these guys across the board, that's what needs to get better.
Does Nick need to put a little more zip on the snaps sometimes? Do you find that the ball floats back a little bit too slowly to Daniel?
Not really. I mean, it hasn't been an issue so far. Can it get better? Absolutely. He's still, new to the position. So that's something that'll get better over time. Right now focusing on communicating, getting the calls, the IDs. He's been good for the most part. That's something we'll keep continuing to work every day before practice, during practice, after practice, and it's something he's gotten better with, and that's something that, obviously can improve moving forward.
Thank you.
You got it.
Dan Duggan.
Hey, what's up, Marc?
Hi, Dan.
When a unit's not performing, up to expectations, everyone on the outside always wants to make changes. What do you say to fans who are, clamoring for you to put Lemieux in or put Perriton?
Yeah, well, we give these guys opportunities every week during practice, and, the starting 5 had a really good practice, week of practice last week. Obviously, it didn't translate to the game. These guys are young. We didn't have an off season. To them, it's really like the third preseason game. So, they just got to keep developing. We're going to keep giving them shots in practice, and really it all comes down to how you practice. So those guys are going to practice hard. Continuity. It's a balance between continuity and playing the best five. So we're going to keep pushing in practice, create competition, and see where it shakes out.
And I think coming into the season, maybe there were questions at tackle and center, and people felt pretty good about the guards. How do you feel like Will and Kevin have played so far?
Well, everybody needs to play better. Right? We need to coach better. We need to play better. Obviously, it's not up to standard. So, not just singling those two out. It's across the board. It's the entire team right now. So, it's something we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep working. We just need to get 1,000,000 reps at this stuff. It's going to get better. And we just got to keep pushing and have this stuff show up on Sunday. I think the guys are working tremendously hard. That's something that's never been an issue. But it needs to start translating, and some of those, need to be more consistent.
Thanks, Mark.
Got it.
Zach Rosenblatt.
Hey, Marc.
Hey, Zach.
You obviously have a history with Cam Fleming dating back to Dallas. I'm just curious, what you've seen out of him these last couple of weeks, and how does he, when he has a bad game, how does he respond? How have you noticed him responding over the years, when you look at the tape and he's not happy with how he played?
Yeah, what I've seen from Cam so far is, some of the same things you've seen his whole entire career. He battles, he fights. He's out there, he gives 100% every time. He's the one running around. He's the first guy out to practice, last guy to leave. That's some of the stuff that's really good for the young guys too. Cam handles himself well. He's a professional. If he has a rough outing, he's coming back in. He's trying to work on, the details of the stuff that, in the game wasn't executed correctly. He'll be out there, on Wednesday or tomorrow working, pass sets, working his run blocking, working everything, trying to master every little thing, every little detail. So some of the stuff that showed up in the game, so we can get it corrected right there and move on.
Thanks, Marc.
You got it.
Jordan, you can go ahead.
Hey, Marc. I'm wondering with Andrew Thomas, how much is the ups and downs just sort of par for the course for him being a rookie tackle?
Yeah, being a rookie, first round pick, I was there as a player. He's had some really good pass rushes he's gone against, and we've, haven't been in a situation, hadn't run the ball particularly well, so we're dropping back and passing quite a bit. And I think he's handled himself well for the most part, across the board. It's really just inconsistent play, all right? So we got to coach it better. We got to take it from the field, all right, to the games. As a rookie, you deal with those ups and downs. Andrew's a smart kid. I truly believe he's going to get it right. We're going to work to iron out every little detail and just keep his confidence level up. That's on me to come up with the same juice and energy every day and keep pushing these guys to be great.
And then with the stunts and twists, this is more as a whole. That seems to be giving this group some trouble when you see the pressures. A lot of them are coming from the movement up front by the other team. What do you attribute that to? And what's your teaching point when you're going back to the film and you're watching that? You see guys just not picking it up and guys just running free.
Yeah, it's been something so far that we got to do a better job of. We really made an emphasis on it last week in practice, and again, it didn't show up in the game. Really inconsistent. When it's done right, it's great. It's a matter of tight hands. It's a matter of seeing it, reading keys, stuff like that. It's a young line. They just got to do a better job of seeing it and recognizing it really quick. It's something that's hurt us, and we got to do a better job. I got to do a better job of coaching it up, and I'm going to keep pushing these guys, to be able to handle this. All right, they can handle it. They just got to see it, and they got to react a lot faster.
Is that during the play, or is that you're talking about recognition before the play?
Yeah, it's everything. It's down and distance. It's how wide the three technique is. It's these guys communicating with each other. It's checking out their stance. There's a whole laundry list of things and keys. So it's a matter of putting that all together and realizing, when we get into these games where we're passing it quite a bit, that's what's going to happen. All right, so we just got to be smart with our sets. We got to be good with our hands. We got to snap them off, and we just got to be better up front.
Appreciate it, man.
You got it.
Tom Rock.
Marc, yesterday when we spoke with Nick, he said that the room was pissed off. How are you handling what's happened so far on the field this season?
Well, obviously we're not where we need to be yet, but we're going to come in here and really work tomorrow. All right, to really get this thing right. You know, again, I thought we had a great week of practice. It's just not translating to the games yet. We're a million reps behind, so we got to keep getting it, keep getting the technique down. All right, keep grinding. You know, some of these things that we see in the game, get it corrected. You know, we're seeing a lot of stuff for the first time, but now we're to a point now. We're going into game 4. You know, this stuff should be ironed out. All right, so it's our job this week to iron it out and move forward and get some more consistent play out of this group, and it starts with me.
Do you like that they're pissed off?
I love that they're pissed off. You know, that's the type of group we want. And you know, they came out, they played physical. You know, again, it's tough to play, you know, real physical in the passing game. We got to do better in the run. Period. All right, that's where we're falling short right now. You know, it's going to alleviate a lot of stuff in the passing game. So, you know, that's something we have to do. We have to do it early. Okay, we can't wait to crank it up. So it's just getting more production out of the run game.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we have time for a couple more. Matt Lombardo.
Hey, Mark. I'm
Matt.
curious. You guys put in 3 new starters at the beginning of the year, including a new center. How much of these issues early on are just it's a lack of continuity, and you guys just need time to iron through it? And you've played some pretty tough pass rushers.
Yeah, I mean, that's you pretty much said it. I mean, we can do a better job. But yes, we're young, and we need as many reps as possible, with thousands and thousands of reps behind. And this is practice reps, not game reps. All right, so you know, every week it's going to get better. All right, we just got to keep grinding. All right, so we need to see better jumps. It can't be, you know, we can't baby crawl through this thing. All right, we need to start seeing some big jumps, and we're at a point now, you know, where we should start seeing that. So we're going to push them. I'm going to push them really hard this week to come out and play great.
I guess the follow-up there is you need all of these reps, but you also have a young quarterback looking to develop, and you've lost, you know, the star running back to maybe take some of that pressure off. How do you balance wanting to get all those reps and getting this group of 5 guys ready to go versus knowing when maybe you need to pull the plug and make a change to spark something?
You know, I don't think we're there yet. Again, you said it, continuity is a big thing. So we're going to continue to keep pushing this group and give those young guys an opportunity. And, you know, just kind of keep everything simple, you know, so we can go out there and execute at a high level.
Mark, you mentioned Aaron Donald earlier. I just wanted to know at a detailed level or a technical level, what makes him so special? I mean, is it just the combination of everything he is, his strength, his speed? And then as an offensive line, can you afford to cheat at a guy, you know, to double team a guy like that? Or do you need somebody like Nick to be able to handle him one-on-one in order to operate efficiently as an offense?
Yeah, well, the first half of that question, you know, he's got a tremendous get-off. I mean, this guy gets up the field really quick. You know, he's excellent with the snap count. He's explosive. He's extremely smart. You know, he's a great leverage player. You know, if you lean and you make a mistake and beat yourself, all right, he's going to win every time. You know, he's a guy that can win when you take a perfect set. You know, so again, we're going to have a plan for him, and yeah, you know, the center's got to be part of that plan. Okay, obviously, Aaron, he's going to line up as a 3 technique. He's going to line up as a defensive end. He's going to line up over the center. He's going to line up all over the place, and that's really, you know, the goal. You know, to try to find a weakness. All right, so we got to do a really good job up front, okay, with our technique, and make sure we don't give him anything. All right, make it a little bit harder, you know, for him, you know, with perfect execution.
Blake Martinez, obviously, as a leader of your defense, made a lot of plays. But on these, I'm thinking of a lot of the touchdowns in particular, where an offense is able to get to the second level and kind of eliminate him from the play. You know, is that on the defensive front to kind of give him more protection, or does he need to escape that and get to the ball quicker?
You know, I mean, I think it's a combination. You know, every play that has a breakdown defensively, there's usually, you know, a couple of things that happen. I don't think it's all on any one in particular individual. You know, and there's times where he, you know, when you watch film and critique it and everything, there's times where you can assess things where he can do things better. And I'm sure Spence is talking about the defensive front, you know, things that they could possibly do better, you know. And then there's plays that are positive plays where you go back and say, hey, if we don't do this, you know, a certain way, it may show back up. So, you know, each play kind of has a life of its own. You sort of critique it in different ways. But yeah, there's sometimes the angles, you know, sometimes alignments and things like that can help adjust, you know, to the way that the play is kind of played out.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
Hey, I know a lot of things with your unit, and a lot of the units are situational based on game to game. But obviously, Devonta Downs had a lot more snaps in this game than he had in the first two. Was that just based on what the 49ers present, or did he do something in the first two games to warrant more this time?
You know, probably a little bit of both. I think you know, Pat likes to be sort of aggressive, I guess you might say, in the way that our scheme is. So it allows him to use different personnel groupings, different individuals in different ways. I think a little bit of it's maybe an element of surprise to the opponent. Some of it's, hey, this is where we think the best alignment or personnel grouping is going to be for the game. And then he's done some things to warrant, you know, the ability to get on the field, which, you know, gives Pat the confidence to say, hey, let's look at this guy at this role, you know. You know, and then hopefully that with every guy on the defensive side of the ball, you know, you're always looking at what's our best matchup, what's our best people on the field. And I think that kind of played a factor into him, you know, playing more reps this past week.
How did he do with those more reps?
You know, he did good. I mean, obviously, when you play more reps, you know, there's more room for better play, you know, not as good play or whatever. You get, you know, more percentage of grades to our plays to be graded from. But overall, he did well. You know, he did well. You know, obviously, the outcome of the game was not exactly what we wanted it to be. So a little bit of that is, you know, we've got to go back to kind of the drawing board and assess, you know, where we are. And, you know, the fundamentals showed up in some things too, so.
Also, one more from me. Yep. Did it look like the 49ers were trying to attack the perimeter of your defense more? Maybe not into the teeth of, you know, the middle. You know, a lot of the jet sweeps and things like that. They didn't have a lot of success up the middle, but to the perimeter, they seem to be more on the attack mode there.
Yeah, the first series, that was kind of their deal. The first two plays were on the perimeter. I think that was maybe try to soften them up and then come back, you know, maybe go inside later on. They did that, but yeah, I think when they look at the guys we have up front and kind of, you know, the first two games, what's happened, running the ball in between the tackles hasn't been, you know, as good for some. So I think they go like, hey, let's get out on the perimeter and spread them out a little bit. Plus, you get big bodies running side to side. You know, you get them winded, and now you're like, okay, man, let's come downhill at them and see what happens. But I think that was obviously part of their plan, was to go on the perimeter and then come downhill at us from there.
Thank you.
All right, Dan. Hey, Kevin. Apologize, got asked already. I just jumped on. If David Mayo is able to return, what does he bring to the defense?
I think he brings some experience, and, you know, a veteran guy that's been around the league for, I think, 5 years. That's probably his number one thing, because he does a really good job of working with other guys, you know, some of the rookies that are in the room, of just helping be that voice in the room that, hey, yeah, this, that, and the other, how to do things. You know, and then he's a tough, rugged guy, and he's been in there before. He's been in the battles, so it doesn't faze him to go out there and, you know, when things get a little hairy, it doesn't affect him. So.
And then I think Tay Crowder played 2 snaps on defense on Sunday. Is that a situation where you had a very specific situation and role to get him on the field?
Yeah, we're trying to get him on the field. You know, we think he's you know, he's got the ability to help us in some roles, and so we put that role on him, and, you know, he did a really good job with it. Was only 2 plays, you know, like to have possibly been more, but sometimes you can't predict what situations are going to come up, so you take them how they unfold. But, you know, hopefully his role will increase as the season goes if he continues to develop like he has.
Thanks.
All right, Leonard.
What do you, along the lines of the young guys, what do you think Coughlin can do in there? I know you've been working him on the inside.
Yeah, I think Carter brings a little different element because he's from an inside backer. He's a little bit longer. He's not quite as long as the outside backers that we have, you know, with Lorenzo and some of those guys that are just unique athletes. But he's got some, you know, he runs really well. And I think he brings an element of third down, whether it be rush or, you know, some coverage element and things like that he could possibly do. Probably the early down inside backer role, he's continuing to learn, you know, on a daily basis, just because he spent most of his time on the edge at the outside backer role. But that's sort of what he brings, sort of what we felt like he would bring to us, is, you know, multiple roles, because he's a good athlete.
Also, Jabril Peppers, obviously he's technically a safety, but especially in that Chicago game, a lot of times he's playing more down near the line. Are you working with him? Like, are you coaching him as a slash backer? Because a lot of these plays, he kind of ends up there.
Yeah, it's not like he comes over every day. I mean, but in our scheme, Pat encourages me to coach the secondary if I see something, Jerome to coach the backers. It's an open coaching realm, so it's not like you segment and you only have a group of guys and that's all you coach and no one else is allowed. So to say that, yes, we do, but Bret coaches the back. I coach Bret guys sometimes, and then there'll be times we'll say, hey, Bret, take these guys and work on end of line stuff, and he'll say, hey, we're going to stack a guy back, Kevin, you take, so it's a group effort all the way around. So.
Hey, Kevin, one more from me. 77 snaps on defense. I know Blake played all of them. Not all of you guys did, obviously, but it's kind of a warm day. The way the game went, it looks like the defense wore down. Would you agree with that, with 77 snaps?
Yeah, that's more than we've played the first two games. So, that could be – I know Joe's real big on the conditioning early in training camp, because until it cools off, you're going to deal with that and you can't predict it. But I could see, at this league, when I came from college, that was probably our typical number of reps, but we also had more bodies to roll out there and play with than what we do now. So, there's a possibility that took a, toll on us toward the end.
But how tough is it with that number 2 corner spot where you just kind of keep having a revolving door there?
I got a chance to play there the other day and played solid at times and, a couple things we could do better. Then Ryan Lewis got a shot to play a little bit and, those guys will be in the mix again this week and just keep, progressing them and getting them better and actually getting all of us better. Like, we got a long way to go as a secondary. We got a lot of work to do, and we're just going to come in this week, work to get better.
But, obviously, ideally, you'd settle on one guy there, I assume?
Yes. Oh, you'd love to, settle on one guy. And again, Ike's going to get the chance to be that guy again this week and play. And I expect him to play well.
Gotcha. And I know it was a little different because you guys are in the base a lot more on Sunday. So we're playing the 3 safeties as much. But Logan was starting, over Julian. I'm just curious what went into that decision.
The thought with that, it was just to get Logan's experience and versatility on the field. He's got great leadership. He's got great energy. He's played in a lot of football games and been productive in a lot of games, and just trying to get him on the grass. And it's nothing against Julian. It's more getting the experience and the leadership on the grass.
I saw you guys signed Montre Harper off the Raiders practice squad. What stood out about him, and how do you see him fitting?
Right now, I don't know a lot about him. I just found out from Coach Joe that we had signed him, and Coach Joe took a look at him and really liked his physical skill sets and his demeanor as a player, and thought it was a guy that we would benefit from having him on the roster. So I'm excited to work with him and get to know the kid.
What do you think's missing from that number 2 cornerback spot? Because it seems like you have what could be a lockdown guy, James, on one side, but what do you need to see from some of these other guys on the roster to step up and make you feel comfortable putting them on that other side?
Well, with the whole secondary, we're not going to really single out the one spot, but we just got to play more consistently at a high level. We have times where we play at a really high level, and then we have times that we're making like errors and mistakes that are causing us to get beat, and we just got to get those things fixed as a group.
Thanks.
Zach Rosenblatt.
Hey, Jerome. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Zach?
Good. Are you surprised that teams keep on throwing it at James Bradbury, especially considering, I'm sure you're happy that that's happening because he's playing so well for you guys, but are you surprised that they keep going at him?
This league is an offensive league, and like with our rules with not being able to contact them downfield, I just think that the receivers have the advantages in this league. The offenses feel that way, and the best of the corners in this league get tested on a weekly basis, and that's going to continue to happen for all of our guys.
What has particularly impressed you about James through these first 3 games? I think he has something like 9 pass deflections, which I think might even lead the league right now.
Yeah, he's been very productive on the ball. He's been very steady, very reliable. Again, there's areas where he's got to get better as well, but he's been very productive on the ball. Like he's been done a good job there.
Coach, how do you handle, you had to do it on the fly when Jabril came out of the game on Sunday. If you have him or don't have him this coming Sunday, does that change the way you work the mechanics in your secondary?
It'll probably be similar to how we played, once he went out the game. That, like when you play with Jabril, you play with, him as the down safety. When we played with those other safeties, we were more like rotating, and they both played some down, both played some deep. We'll look at what's the best combination for, as we game plan with Pat this week of what's the best thing to do, and we'll try to do that. Whatever, Pat thinks is the best thing to do, we'll try to get that executed.
I would guess the best situation, though, would just be to have Jabril in there doing that.
Yeah, the best situation would be to have Jabril right there playing. He'd been playing well, and I hate it for the kid that he tweaked his ankle, and I just hope to get him back soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dan Duggan.
Hey, Jerome, I figured I'd jump back in here. With Darnay Holmes, how did he respond? Obviously it was a rough game on Sunday, and just how you've been around a long time. How tough is it for young corners in this league? It feels like there's obviously gonna be days like that.
Yeah, when you're a young corner, they're going to go after you. They're going to try to isolate you and try to get you. The good thing about Darnay is he's a worker, and he'll come back this week and he'll work his butt off to get better. He has a really good demeanor about it, not too high, not too low about things. And he's one of those guys that I think he's aware of his mistakes, and I expect him to grow from those mistakes, So I expect him to come back and be productive this week.
And then Nate Abner, not a guy, I think when he signed here, we expect to see a lot in the secondary. Obviously been pretty much exclusively a special teamer. What have you seen from him? And I guess he's a veteran, but how tough is it when he gets thrown into probably a much bigger role than he thought on defense?
Yeah, well, Nate's just an unbelievable person, and anybody who knows him knows that he works his butt off. He's really intelligent. He's been around the system for a long time. So he's a guy who, he actually went in and played without having a lot of, practice reps. He's just kind of, all right, Nate, you're up. And he came in and functioned well for us.
I'm curious, more of a big picture, but obviously it focuses on game to game. When you guys start setting your game plan out and you try to decide rotations and who's in what grouping, what is the challenge to set that up? And then when you get into a game situation, what's the process like? Are you looking at numbers? Is somebody tracking numbers to keep what you guys want to do with your guys and whether it's how many snaps they get, or is it really dictated by package and grouping and you just kind of let it fly the way the game evolves?
So kind of all encompassing. So during the week we'll practice those personnel groups and those type of things and doing the substitutions that way. And then obviously during the course of a game, you're watching, I'm really in tune with, whether a guy's tired or not. I don't have a specific rep count. I kind of know how many reps we want guys to play. We decide that as a staff. And then, as that game goes on, we're able to look at the sideline and see how many plays total, but not like how I had it in college a little bit. We would actually track the number of each player. We don't really have that capability here. So I kind of just look at the overall numbers. And if it's like 21 plays in 2 series, then I know I probably should rotate at that point in time. But we practice that throughout the week, though. So it's not as crazy as it seems.
Is it crazy or chaotic?
Chaotic.
I guess along that lines, part of the reason I asked the question is because when we're watching a game, you see guys who are out there and you say, well, why are those 2 guys together? Why aren't you playing, why isn't Dex on the field more? Because he's, it might be in a different grouping. Right. Is the situation that you guys kind of, like I said, it is evolving, that you're trying to not take one guy and just blow up a grouping per se by bringing another guy into it when things may not be working?
It depends if we're 3 down a 3-down front, so to speak, with 3 of my guys, or a 4-down with 2 of my guys, or a situation where, either just Leo or BJ are on the field in a certain package or whatever. But we definitely evaluate that. Dex played more reps and more snaps than he's played in any game this season. I think his count was like 52, and there was like 75, 76 gradable plays, so that's a pretty high percentage. I like to not play him that much, but, he's obviously a guy that can affect the game, and we're definitely watching what you're talking about and making sure we have the right personnel in there at the right time. It's definitely something we pay attention to.
Yeah, I guess it gets to a point where we're trying to evaluate what's going on as you're watching the game, but we don't have the insight of why you have your groupings out there at a certain time versus what the person.
You want to keep fresh legs all the time, first and foremost. So, if Leonard has been in there for 8 straight snaps, and I'm expecting him to go 150 miles an hour, I probably better pay attention to him, that at some point in time he's going to fizzle out. And I don't want that to happen, because then you're going to get a bad rep, and, I prefer to get him in and out of there. And, we got guys like BJ and Austin that can come in and definitely have, sparked us in certain ways, and BJ in particular had a nice sack a couple weeks ago and had a really good pressure this past week. So moving forward, we'll continue to rotate, but obviously evaluate, who we have in there at what point in time.
Not to make this call a complete one-on-one, but it doesn't look like anybody is back from another room. When you're judging your guys week to week, where do you feel like you're at right now with your group? I mean, do you have a good feel as to what everybody can do, who fits well together, or is that still a process where you guys are still evaluating as things are moving forward?
I think it's twofold. I think it's a continuous process. You always are evaluating. You always are trying to put guys in the best situation to be successful, right? And then obviously the situation that they're successful is going to help the defense as a whole, and eventually it's going to help the entire team. So, that's a constant evaluation. Guys are evaluated on every rep of every game, every rep of every practice, and, really just trying to, not from a negative standpoint, but more so just trying to maximize the right guys in the right spots at the right time. So that's what we do. We do it as a defensive staff, and obviously Coach Judge gets very involved with that. So it's not like I'm out there just throwing dice, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty orchestrated.
Just curious, obviously we made such a big deal about what an offense will look like with and without Saquon. You've obviously seen it both ways the last 2 years. I'm just curious what it does for your guys and the coverage that you may see week to week without that kind of threat in the backfield. I know you still have running backs, you still have guys who can make plays, but I'm just curious from a coverage perspective, what teams can maybe do to you guys, or at least try to show you guys different looks, as opposed to having that one guy that is a threat to take it every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, Art, that's a good question. And my answer to that is, I think when we play defenses, I think they play what they play because they practice a certain way, throughout the whole time they're practicing, and their guys get good at what they do. So I think when you face an opponent with or without certain players, I think they play what they play because they play it really well. I don't think you can go into a game and try to do something. You may make a wrinkle here or there, but at the end of the day, they're going to play what they play. So we have to run what we run and see how it matches up.
Do you feel like your guys are getting open consistently enough to help out Daniel?
I think we are. I think it's a work in progress. I think you see evidence on tape that guys, at times are open, and there's evidence on tape that sometimes they're not. So I think the thing to do to fix that is to continue to work on the details in practice, the fundamentals of route running, the fundamentals of cutting, separating, and I think it's a work in progress right now. I think we win some, and I think we lose some, but it's just a matter of getting on the same page with everybody, the whole offense, and being able to connect and see the fruits of their labor, if you will.
Hey, Tyke, just talk a little bit, about the 2 young guys that are getting extra chances right now, Damian and CJ, how they're coming along in this offense.
I think they're progressing nicely. They both played pretty equally the other day as far from a snap count standpoint. Maybe CJ got a couple more than Damian, but I have total confidence in both of them, or they wouldn't be playing. And but they're out there, they're contributing, they're doing what they can do, and they're running routes, they're blocking in the running game. They're progressing nicely in our system. They're progressing nicely in practice. So it's just a matter of everybody getting on the same page, so everybody can go out there and make their presence known. We strive here in making our presence known, whether we have the ball or not. So they have to continue to do that. And I tell them all the time, and all the guys, try to be the best player on the field with or without the ball, because you can make an impact in the game in a lot of different ways. So I think they're trying to do that, and they're working hard to achieve that.
Tyke, I wanted to ask you about the rookies on the practice squad, and obviously you guys put so much time, and they did as well, developing them through the summer. You get into a regular season, and we all know the time that you guys have to prepare for the game versus the time for development are two different things. How have they been coming along, and are there things that you're doing separately for the rookies that are trying to accelerate to get to the point where if you need them to contribute on the active roster, that they are doing what they can to be in that situation and be ready?
Yeah, Art, that's a really good question. And one of the things that Coach Judge, what we do here, and Coach Judge implemented, is the fact we have what we call a basic period, and that's at the end of practice when all the young guys stay out there and get extra reps, be it in a team period or a 7-on-7 period, and those guys are running the same plays we just ran in practice with the quote-unquote varsity guys, if you will. So, but they're getting their reps for the scout team, for the defense and their look, but they're also getting our reps. We rep in practice, be it 1 period or 2 periods, whatever, and they're doing a good job of that, of repping that stuff. So they're staying in the loop with everything that we do offensively, so because they never know when their time is going to be called to come up, and when they do, I feel confident they'll be ready to go.
A couple of things. What did you think of Devonta Freeman in his first, limited action, but some action? And is it hard to judge the production of some of these running backs when, what is your sense of where they're getting hit and how many yards they can get on certain carries?
Well, first question with Devonta, I think, he had a good first outing. We planned on, just kind of easing him into learning, he's learned the system. He's just still learning the system. So we got him 15 snaps, and I thought he did well, did what he was supposed to do as far as his assignments were concerned. So I was pleased with his progress at this point. Obviously, we're looking forward to getting him more involved in the offense as we move forward. As far as the running backs, you know what, it takes 11 guys to make plays work. It's just not one guy or one group of guys. So the thing that we're constantly working on is just to kind of get 11 guys on the same page, all right? And this is all about the execution. So, and it takes time and it takes work to do that. And that's what we're about right now.
So when you grade a guy on each play, Goldman or Freeman or Lewis, and they get hit in the backfield right away, you know what I mean? And they wriggle out and get back to the line of scrimmage. I mean, can you give a guy a positive grade on that play? Or do you look at it and say, there was nothing to gain there, he gained nothing, it's kind of a stalemate?
Well, I have a simpler way of evaluating practice as well as game tape. And, I practice from 3 standpoints. Assignment, what type of technique they use in running their assignments. And the third part would be effort. So there's 3 different areas that you could evaluate there, Now, if a play is broken down, whether it's our fault or anybody else's fault, it could be a technical thing that happens, So, but if it's not our fault per se, then I want to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do on that particular play. So he's going to get a grade accordingly. And if he's on the right track, he's on the right track. Technically on the right track, all right? So if he's in the right spot for his assignment, he'll get graded accordingly. So that's how we grade these guys,
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dougie. Hey, Burton, you mentioned how you guys want to ease Freeman in. Can he be full go this week?
Well, the plan is, like all our players that come in, we want them we want to develop them to a point where they know the whole offense. And I thought the guy did a great job in, 2 or 3 practices, getting a base understanding of our offensive scheme. Now, the plan is, moving forward, is to get him more and more involved in it. So, yes, ultimately, we expect him to know the whole offense. So we know it's going to take time, and the guy's a quick learner, so, we expect him to be a lot more involved with knowledge of the offense this coming week.
And then just, what's your reaction when you look at the fact that you guys are last in the league in rushing? I'm sure that has to be disappointing.
Well, I'm a team guy, so, I don't focus on individual stats and that type of stuff, my big thing is like making sure that the running backs are doing what they're supposed to do, because I know at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it's going to take 11 guys to be efficient in order for us to execute. And that's what we're constantly working on, and that's what we will continue to work on.
Obviously coaching is a lot of different things, not just technical. You got to be a little bit of an amateur psychologist at times. I'm sure throughout your career you would agree with that. How do you deal with these guys with so little results this year? You get them in the room and these numbers are not good, 2 yards a carry, 1.8 yards a carry. How do you kind of keep their psyches and their confidence up when the results just aren't there game after game here?
Well, first of all, I'm a positive person, and I try to stay positive on whatever's going on and just focus on what we need to do to get those results. I'm not going into the game looking for results. I'm looking for the little things that eventually, if we do those things, then the results will come. So, constantly talking to those guys. These guys are professionals. They understand the game. I mean, we've all been, they had a lot of experience on a lot of different kind of teams. So those patterns don't change. So the one thing that they know they have to do to be a good team player, they got to stay positive and stay focused, because, the worst thing that could happen is you lose your focus and all of a sudden things start clicking and you're not where you're supposed to be at. So I just kind of keep it positive, man.
I understand. What can you tell me about Wayne Goldman? We made a deal about him maybe getting a chance here. He got 4 carries. I mean, the offense didn't have a lot of plays to go along for anybody. What could you tell in Goldman's 4, carries in that game?
Well, again, I go back to my grading system, Mick. He was good on his assignments. Technically, he was in the right spots, and he gave great effort, So based on that, I know the guy is working toward, improving. And, of course, at the end of the day, it's going to be how the team, does, So individual stuff is good, but, as far as him moving forward to do what he's supposed to do in order to help the other 10 guys, the offensive team, be efficient. That's the ultimate goal right there, man, So.
Yep.
Go ahead.
One more thing about Devonta. Players are good players, but they're not always quick studies. From your limited experience with him, does he seem like a quick study? I mean, did he pick it up in 2 or 3 days that you can look forward and say this, process can be fast forwarded pretty quickly here?
Yeah, well, this guy's got some experience in the league. He's played with teams, and honestly, I always says like, football players are football players. Most teams are running the same plays. It's just the language, breaking down the language barrier. And, that's one thing that he was able to process based on his experience. Yeah, well, Coach, I ran this play, and we called it such and such now. You guys call it that. So, yes, he is. He was able to connect the dots sort of to get him going in the right direction.
He'll be speaking Giants before we know it, huh?
Heck yeah, man. The language, yeah. Language, he's, so the thing about, when you have experienced guys and, those guys, know what they're doing on certain plays, And a lot of times it's just a crossover. You got to know, all right, we call it this, they call it that, So we expect him, to know that very soon.
Good. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Patty.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Apologies about my video. It's acting up a little bit. But Coach Judge mentioned that he wants to have guys like Saquon around a lot. And I'm just wondering, in your room, how can Saquon continue to be, a help to your room? I'm sure having him there just alone is a big deal. But what can he bring, even though he's on IR?
Well, his personality, first of all. You guys know Saquon. He's a very positive person. He's a very team-minded person. So Saquon was in the locker room before the game Saturday to encourage the other guys. Just little things like that, his encouragement. He has a lot of respect for his teammates. They have obviously a lot of respect for him. So just his presence goes a long way.
And in terms of, teaching, I'm just wondering, do you still use his film? Do you try and versify the film when you teach? I mean, how does that kind of work?
Yeah, I think we all copycats in football. We learn from each other. And obviously when we show clips of certain plays, Saquon will show up and it was like, this is the way he did it. And, we'll kind of look at that and evaluate it and say, and other guys learn from that. We learned from watching Devonta Freeman when he was at the Atlanta Falcons, running certain plays, and he was really good at. So we all learn from each other's experiences.
What have you seen from Levine so far? I don't know that we've asked you a lot about him.
Well, I think Levine gives us a steady presence in there as a Y tight end. He's improving in the pass game. He had a big third down conversion the first game for us. And, he's been very efficient and kind of doing his job.
Is he as effective of a blocker as you thought he was going to be when you brought him in here?
Yeah, I think Levine's done a real good job, and he's continuing to work to even get better. So the thing with Levine, he's been in the league, 8 years, I think, but, he knows that there's still improvements that he can make and be more consistent on everything he does. So guys like Levine are good to work with.
We obviously know the kind of speed that Evan has, right? He hasn't really been targeted deep down the middle of the field. I don't think I'm pretty sure it's 0 times this year. Why do you think that is to this point?
Well, Evan's, continuing to work and, we're continuing to try things to get the ball in Evan's hands, whether it be run after catch or down the field. Sometimes coverage dictates a lot of those things. And, it just hasn't happened yet, but we're going to continue to try to get the ball in our playmakers' hands, and he's definitely one of our playmakers.
How much is that something you see in regard to coverages, like teams looking for him in the big play?
Well, I think definitely if they're doing their job, they're trying to take away the guys you're trying to get the ball to, but that also leaves opportunities for others on the field. So, overall, we just, as a staff, we always make a concerted effort to try to get our guys the ball, and sometimes defenses dictate that, and sometimes they don't, and different factors come into play when you start talking about those things. But Evan's doing a good job of continuing to work. Our whole offense is continuing to do a good job of coming to work every day and try to get better each and every day.
Hey, Freddie, from your experience, how does a coach keep a team focused in the day-to-day if the results aren't showing on the field of all of that hard work?
Well, I think first and foremost, the guys that we have in our locker room, I think, are the kind of guys that you want from a standpoint of they come to work every day. Our coaches come to work every day, try to get better, understand that this is not a finished product, understand that there's a lot of room to improve. But also understand that there's only one way to attack that, and that's to come to work every day with a good mindset, and the mindset of just worrying about what you can control at that very moment. And I think all of our guys do that pretty well. I think we've got a good team from that standpoint of carrying that mindset over day after day after day, taking care of Wednesday football on Wednesday, taking care of Thursday football on Thursday, and Friday on Friday, Saturday, the things you do on Saturday, and then go play the game. And as a coaching staff, we've got to continue to try to put these guys in good situations, and then ultimately it comes down to execution. And when both of those things meet up at the right time, we'll start seeing success on the field. But I think we have gotten better in certain areas. But, it's not nearly enough, and not nearly enough to see the result on the scoreboard yet. But we just need to continue to keep our head down, keep working, and let the results take care of themselves.
How did you feel Caden continued to play in week 3?
Caden's been steady the whole year, and I expect him to continue to get better and better the more he plays. And he's kind of a workhorse. He kind of does a little bit of everything for us, and Caden's developed a nice role, can fill a lot of voids, and been very impressed with the way Caden comes to work, and I love coaching the guy.
Hey, Coach, you talk about execution on that on the reverse the other day where you guys had the fumble. Obviously, the pitch to Evan wasn't great, but when I looked at that, it almost looked like Daniel and Caden almost kind of bumped into each other. Was there a little bit of a snafu just in how that play ran in that sense?
Well, there was you can always pick apart every play, every little thing. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But ultimately, the end result was it didn't get executed, and we've got to continue to put those guys in better situations to enable them to increase their chances and likelihood of succeeding.
Hey, Freddie, there was a kickoff, I think, in the second half where it looked like Toy Lolo wasn't sure who to block or what happened on that play there.
Yeah, you're talking about the one that Caden picked up?
Yeah, and then Corey kind of just got yanked down.
Yeah, I don't even care to comment on that because I don't really know if I saw the play briefly live because we potentially were going back out on the field, but yeah, I'm not sure on that.
I'm wondering how much you worry about Evan's mindset and his confidence because it's been a slow start for him. And if that's something you sort of monitor and how you sort of handle that.
Well, I think, the game of football, you have to get yourself ready to play emotionally, physically, mentally. And honestly, that's what training camp does, is it prepares you in all those areas because you have to mentally and emotionally be ready to practice every day, each and every day. And Evan's did a great job of that during training camp, and he's continuing to do a great job of that. I've not seen any indications where Evan has a problem with that at all, and I don't expect him to. I think he's going to come to work tomorrow, ready to prepare, for the next challenge, which is this week, which is a tremendous challenge against the Rams.
O'Shane got the most snaps he's gotten so far this season. Was that just based on what the 49ers presented or what you saw from him the first 2 games?
X is, since I've been around him, a guy that takes every day the way we want it to be around here. He gets better, concentrates on what we ask him to do. There was a little bit of obviously because of what our game plan was and what San Fran brought to the table that got him involved a little bit more. Thought he probably played, you look for the silver linings in games like that, probably played as good as he has at this point. Had a couple nice things in the run game, but also converted some nice rushes against good players. So it's positive to see that. Now you'd like to see that momentum and his confidence continue forward and to see what we get this week.
You see, he's one of those guys who had in a tough year last year for the team, had a promising rookie year, I would say. There's something to build on. Was the first 2 games, didn't get a lot of snaps, really, situational, I guess, but is he kind of a guy that you're waiting for or I know Giants fans are waiting to see, show me more, show me more?
Yeah, he's obviously I didn't know a lot about him before coming here. Giants had done their research on him and took him and been very impressed with him since day one. Just, his attention to detail. He's a guy that's very conscientious, plays a lot of different roles, plays on special teams. Joe always talks about guys that bring value in other roles, and he's a guy that definitely has done that. But, yeah, I think he's a guy that in my career, I've noticed guys that just need that one play, that one moment, that one thing that kind of catapults them into, hey, I belong here, I can do this, I need to be able to capitalize on my skill set. He's really got some things physically. He plays with really good balance, has good strength. There was a couple rushes that you saw. If you hone in on him, that he does some really nice, powerful moves, but he also has some athletic things I've seen him do. So a unique player, a guy that I think has a skill set for the edge that you can really build on.
You can see him as a pass rusher?
I do. He had a couple rushes on Saturday that unfortunately didn't land. The timing of the ball just came out quickly, but he hit some pretty good pass rush moves that we've been working, and I think he's been honing in on, and hopefully it just, again, as a young player like him, sometimes they actually just have to experience it in a game-like situation. Doesn't matter how many times we do it on the practice field. They got to be able to convert it live into an on-the-field game experience, and hopefully that's going to come soon.
Coach, I was wondering, Lorenzo Carter is off to a blazing fast start, and I'm just wondering what's behind that. Is it just more comfort in the system, a different change in what you're asking him to do, or what?
Lorenzo, even though he's been here a number of years, I think he's a guy that really hasn't even gone to his potential yet. I really enjoy the attitude, the energy. Very, very kind of a different guy when you talk to him, right? He's a real cerebral, thinks about a lot of things, and what we're trying to get him to do is, play every down the right way, and kind of had those flashes you see at times. Sure, everybody saw the play on the bootleg where he hit the tight end, got the hand on the ball, and almost came up with a big play interception, but just a little bit short of that, and there are some things that I know on Sunday he definitely wishes he could have over again, and nobody knows that more than him. So I'm excited to see where he goes this week, because he's kind of had 3 games that have been all a little bit different. He actually, I think, played the least amount of snaps on Sunday that he's played so far this season, and sometimes less is best. So give credit to FAC and X and really MG as they kind of take over some of those reps, and I think by committee, hopefully we'll continue to improve and see where it can go.
And just to follow up on, you mentioned by committee, how much does that kind of deter the fast start of the other guys? Like, for example, we see Marcus Golden getting a sprinkling of snaps, Kyler's getting a sprinkling of snaps. Is it kind of like a running back situation where, you got to get into a groove with the more snaps you can possibly get, or are there things that these guys can do to, expedite their start?
Yeah, in particular, our room has, 4 guys, between X, Zoe, FAC, and MG. Cam Brown's in there, but he's, playing more of a special teams role, but those 4 guys all have different, unique skill sets. They all bring to the table certain strengths, and we try to minimize the weaknesses. All a really good group to work with. I think as we begin to feel ourselves out, going through 3 games now without all the preseason and really having nothing in the spring, we're trying to get a foundation of what they do well, what they handle during the course of the game, and then be able to apply it to help the Giants win football games. That's the ultimate goal. It really doesn't matter what we do individually. It's what we do as a team, and I do think that it starts with how they approach the day. And those 4 guys, FAC was new to the group, but those other 3 guys have been around each other last year. So there was a nice little gel already going on, and hopefully we can continue to build that and start producing some wins.
Hey, Bret, I just wanted to check in. Where does things stand with Marcus Golden? I mean, he's not playing nearly as much as last season and really not making as much of an impact. So just, where do things stand with him?
Yeah, so, he was able to actually get more reps on Sunday than he has all year. Again, we lessened total reps that Zoe took. He was in the 40 count, low 50s, whatever it was. FAC was in the 40s as well. And I think, if I remember right, I'm already obviously jumped into next week's preparation, but MG was over 20, and those other guys were in the 30, 40 range. So I think the 4 guys, as they rotate through, it'll be a little bit based on, what an opponent brings to us, trying to maximize and put our best players out there on the field first, second, and third down. Obviously, some guys have a role in the kicking game, but continue to use those guys' skills as best we can.
77 snaps in the game was a lot. Obviously, the production late in the game on defense did not match some of the stuff early. Do you think that took a toll on the defense in general and your guys in particular?
I don't want to speak for our guys. I just know what the reality of. I got in after the game and looked at the play sheet and realized we played that many snaps. As a coach, you are into the game and you don't really know. Sometimes I've been like, oh, I didn't know we played that many, or I didn't know we played that few. I do remember looking at the score going at halftime and felt like we'd been out there for 4 hours. Just it was a different type of game as it unfolded. But our guys, I think, are have an understanding that we're a 0-3 football team that has to continue to work every day. They're not going to try to jump ahead or think about what's behind them. We can, the only thing that really happens with the loss is if you don't take advantage of the opportunity. And if we just treat it as a loss and forget everything that we could have learned from it, we're not going to make any steps forward. So you got to go back and first understand what we didn't do well, highlight the things we did do well, and try to build on that. And I think if we do that and continue to work the way Joe has it planned out, Joe is probably one of the best big picture guys I've ever been around, that just understands where we need to go, tries to give everybody a snapshot of where it needs to be on a day-to-day basis because he knows the end. He knows where he wants it to be. And these guys are working. They're a fun group, detail-oriented, hard workers. So I'm excited to get back on the field with them tomorrow.
You're much more, your background is much more steeped in the college game where 0-3, is a disaster. 0-3, teams don't come out of 0-3. They may come out and have a good year, but, rankings and bowls and things, 0-3, are you kind of gotten a feel of what the NFL is all about where 0-3 is not good, but it's not, there's no rankings, so 0-3 is maybe not as devastating. It's bad, but it's not like college where you're out of it almost.
I take your point. Anytime I hear the word "oh" at the beginning of a record, it never sounds good to me. So I get and understand what you're saying. I do think, again, that's probably more in Joe's line of thinking is, hey, where the NFL is at right now after 3 weeks isn't a lot of times where it's going to be in week 12, 13, 14, 15. You've seen it. I really didn't see it until I got into the NFL, so you're correct there. But, again, if we start thinking about that, we're going to lose sight of what Wednesday is. And if Wednesday is good, you got a really good chance for Thursday to be good. If Thursday is good, Friday's got an even better chance, and then we got to carry it forward into Sunday. We began to piece together some opportunities where we were good for a couple days in a row and without a setback, but we haven't been able to get over the hump on Sunday. So that's part of the challenge. None of us like to lose. None of us obviously are in this profession to lose football games. We're in it to win. But if you have your guys on a path that you know where they're going, that's the part that you really got to concentrate on, and there's no other way to look at it.